Hi Fixer family, it's Charmin, and on today's video I'm going to show you how to make these super cute rustic farmhouse stars. Now these things can be of course used for 4th of July decor, Memorial Day decor, but they can also be used for everyday decor as well as for Christmas and maybe even other holidays that are out there. I know that you guys are going to love these, and they are super simple to make. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Fixin' To. Now here's what we need to do these projects. Now of course for the smaller star we're going to be using these gallon size paint stirrers that you can get at Home Depot. There's 10 in a pack of those, 98 cents a piece. We're also going to be using the 5-gallon size paint stirrers, the 21-inch, and there's 3 in a pack of those, and you'll need 2 of those. We're also going to be using some twine as well as some white paint. Now we're also going to use a miter saw as well as a sander. So let's get started on making these stars. Now of course the first thing we're going to do is, with the smaller stirrers you can cut all of them at the same time, and I'm just making sure that they are super straight and together so we get a good even cut. And then I'm just going to take them and cut them right below where the little indentation is in the handle. Now of course we want to sand them because one side has the ruler markings on it and we want it smooth. So we're going to go ahead and sand all of it and get it ready to paint. Now that we're ready to paint, we're going to lay out all 5 of our sticks here. They're all nice and sanded on both sides. I'm going to be using this chip brush that I got from the Dollar Tree to do this, and super simple. I'm just taking a little paper bowl, some of my Waverly chalk paint, and some water because I'm going to do a white paint wash on this wood. Now the natural wood you could, stain it and then just use your white paint to do the kind of white, brush on it, but I wanted to do more of a white wash, and so watering down my paint, and then I'm just going to take my brush and begin to place it on there. Of course I want my paint to be good and mixed and nice and thin. Now I'm just taking the kind of a thick coat of the paint and placing it on the wood, kind of letting it soak in just a little bit, some of that water, and then taking a paper towel and just lightly taking off the excess, and you can kind of see the difference here in how it looks. Now we're going to do of course a little distressing to the I guess you could call it the whitewash with some stain here in just a little bit, but I do it to all sides, the top, the bottom, and all of the edges of the paint stick, the piece of wood here, just to give it that nice look, kind of beginnings of the weathered look. Now that all of our paint is dry, we're ready to, of course, begin to do a little bit more distressing to these pieces of wood. And this to me gives it the rustic farmhouse look. And of course I'm using my endless can here of the gel stain that I have. And I just kind of using a sponge brush on purpose for me. It just seemed to work a whole lot better, and I just kind of brush it on both of the ends and then kind of up the edges. And as you see, then I take my paper towel and begin to kind of wipe off the excess, and it really gives this a weathered look. I also took, and on the edges, the very ends where I guess you could call it the cut ends, I took my stain and just kind of put the dark color on the ends, and it really, kind of gave it that more of a rustic realization here. Also, a tool that I forgot to tell you about is I'm going to be using my drill, because what we're going to be doing in 4 of the 5 pieces of wood here, we're going to drill holes in the same place. And so what I'm going to do is take my first one, and guys, you can measure it if you want to, but I just kind of eyeballed it to where I wanted it to me that kind of adds to the rustic look to it. And I'm going to drill a hole that's big enough for a piece of twine to thread through. And I'll do this on both ends. And then I'm going to take my the first one here and use it kind of as a template for the next 3. And I'll just lay it on top of the next one, using the hole there on the top to get it in basically the same place as this first one. And then I just go in, line it up, and go ahead and drill the hole into each one. And I do this, like I said, with 4 of the 5 pieces of wood, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that 5th piece. Now for this 5th piece, of course I'm kind of cleaning up just a little bit. I'm going to kind of mock putting my star together so that I can get the best possible spot for these 2 holes that I'm going to drill on the opposite ends of this 5th piece. So I kind of lay my star out, getting it just kind of lined up as best as possible, and so that it looks the best, because for some reason this top piece is a little bit bigger and after putting a star together than it really needs to be. But I didn't want to make extra cuts and have to measure all of that. I just wanted everything to pretty much be the same size, and it really turns out beautiful. So I've kind of lay it on here, getting a good idea as to where I want it. And then I'm just going to take and flip it over, holding it together, as tightly as I can. And I'm going to flip it over, and then just take something, a pin, a little pin of some sort. I have this little tool that I got from the Dollar Tree that has kind of like a pointed end on it. And I'm just going to take and, kind of make a little mark onto the back side of this painter stick. And that is where I'm going to wind up drilling. And so you'll see the little pinholes. It's kind of hard to see here, but they are there. And I'm just going to use my little scrap piece of wood again and drill the holes for this top piece. Then we'll be ready to put it together. Now putting this together is super simple. We're going to use our twine, and we're going to tie this together by threading our twine through the holes that we created. Now my particular twine is pretty thin, and so I double my twine. If you have a thicker twine, you won't necessarily have to do this. But as you'll see, I'm just going to take and cut off long enough for me to be able to double it, and then long enough, of course, to tie a good knot on the end. So I go ahead, double it over, and then thread it through the 2 holes that I have here placed together. And of course you just kind of, best way you can, easy. I mean, it's just, a matter of threading it through and tying them in the right spot. And of course you see I have the top 2 started with the top point. And then I'm going to bring in my 3rd piece of wood here and get it tied to make one of my cross pieces here. And really and truly, I just, kind of see which best is going to hold together, and I just, tie a knot and then cut off the excess string. And I do that all the way around, all of the 5 points that we have here. So now that we have all 5 of our points put together, tied together, you see it's still kind of flimsy and kind of can move around a lot. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to do a couple of things to this. I'm going to put a little bit of twine right here where it crisscrosses. But before I do that, I'm also going to take and kind of get it even where I want it, and I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue in a couple of places. This will also help to secure it to where it's not so flimsy, because like I said, we did tie this together to give it, I like it. I think that it kind of adds to that rustic feel of the star. So we're going to put some hot glue down, and then we're going to take our twine and we're going to wrap it right around that crisscross right there in the center. So basically, I mean, I just kind of take it and you can really however much you feel like you need. And I did, of course, just wrap it around a few times, and I tied it into a knot. And then I put a bow on this, and guys, I really didn't care too much for the bow after I did it. And of course, you'll see that I do wind up going back in and cutting that bow down just to make it just like I did all of the other pieces of twine that I tied onto here. I did use a little bit of hot glue to help secure that a little bit, but I think it turned out looking amazing. I really hope that you enjoyed this project as much as I did. And if this is the first time we are meeting, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Consider sticking around and becoming a part of the Fixer family by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a new video. And if no one has told you today, you are amazing. You really are. And always remember to keep looking up, because that's where it all is. I'll see you on the next video.